want to welcome everyone. Thank you so much for coming out on this Saturday morning here to UNC TV. I'm Jeff Smith. I am on the staff here. I'm one of the reporters. Also, I'm lucky enough to be assigned to doing veteran stories and outreach as well for UNC TV. We have a big group that's doing it, not just me as well, but I just want to thank you all for coming out today. And the reason we got this started here in UNC TV is because my wife, Amy, who's in the back room, you guys met her, and my kids giving out donuts earlier. We wanted to give back in some way to the community, and veterans is something that's important to us especially. And I was lucky enough to meet Don Timmons here a few months ago, and he has been doing the Veterans Coffee events in the Triad. And this was a way for us to say, you know what, we need to bring it to Raleigh. It's been in the Triad, it's going down to the Charlotte area, and someone needed to bring it here, and my wife and I said, you know what, this is a great opportunity for our family to give back to veterans, so that's why we're here. So thank you so much for being out here. We're going to continue to have these events. UNC TV is going to try to host them on a quarterly basis, and then we're also going to try to travel away from UNC TV to do these at other locations as we can get locations for it. So just have a look out for that. We have the Facebook page up for NC Veterans Coffee. If you're on Facebook, you can look at it there. We also will have on UNC TV's page, we have a site for the Veterans Coffee as well. We are redoing our website right now for UNC TV, so it's a little difficult to find anything on there, so I'm sorry about that. We are getting that corrected, but the page does exist, I promise. I'll be glad, if anyone needs that information, we'll be glad to send that to you. I also want to point out our gentleman here that's taking pictures right here. This is Mike Burke. He's our chief photographer, and I really appreciate him being here. He is a Marine veteran, and and he gives me a hard time usually when we're in the field too, because he likes to do that. But I always enjoy working with Mike. In fact, my first day working for UNC TV, I went out with Mike, and I think we did a 10-minute lighting setup just for the one shoot. So he had a lot of stories during that 10 minutes of lighting. But again, I appreciate y'all being here. So what we want to first do is we want to bring in, I believe we're ready to bring in the color guard. So if y'all please stand for the color guard.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you. And thank you for the University of North Carolina Army ROTC color guard for that, and also the wonderful singing. Now I want to welcome from the VFW, Chaplain Jim Dyer, to give our word of prayer.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Jim Dyer. I'm the chaplain for the state of North Carolina VFW. And like many of you, I remember drawing $55 a month combat pay in Vietnam. Welcome home. Let's pray. Eternal God, often when we gather like this, someone stands and reads a ritual prayer. But Father, as we approach your throne of grace, help us to really understand how fortunate we are that we have the privilege of coming to you in prayer, that we have the privilege of freedom of speech, we have the freedom to gather, the freedom to bear arms, the freedom to do so many things. And Father, I just praise you and thank you for the courage of these men and women. We lift those that are in harm's way today. Pray for their health, their safety. And Father, there are many men and women that are present today that are still suffering from being in combat. We pray that they would feel your presence, you would comfort them. Your word reminds us that you're the God of all comfort. You comfort us in any all need where we can help comfort one another. And we praise you and thank you for that. Pray that for our speaker this morning, you'd give him clarity of thought. And Father, we pray for our nation that you would give our leaders wisdom and discernment in making decisions. And I lift this prayer in your name. Amen.
You may be seated. Well, as I mentioned before, this all came about on my end when I met Don Timmons. Don is a veteran. He is a Vietnam veteran as well as served in Cambodia, correct? And his stories that I've been able to just work with him and the people he's been able to bring together through the Veterans Coffees and the Triad has allowed so many veterans to come out of their shell. It's allowed people to talk for the first time to other veterans about their service. And because of that, we're able to really bring the stories to life that have been lost for so many years because no one was speaking, because there was so much that you had to go through as veterans, and these coffees have helped bring that out. So I want to bring up Don now to talk about how this all started before even Don got involved. And so Don, thank you so much.
Thank you, Jeff, and thank you all for coming. I feel right at home in the cold weather. A little bit about our coffees in the Triad. We had our first one January 15th, 2015, and we were having it, we partnered with the Outback Steakhouse. And there was some confusion about when they were going to open the door and let us in. So we got there at about 8 o'clock, and it was 20 degrees. And it's about 20 degrees here right now. But that's okay, we're together. But they didn't come until about 9. So about 15 minutes after we got there, I had a car full of hot coffee and donuts. So we just got the hot coffee and donuts and set it outside on the tables and the benches and everything. And you know what? Nobody complained. We had about 30 or 40 veterans standing around outside in 20-degree weather in January. Nobody complained because everybody was just happy to be together. We had little pockets of people talking, and we had World War II veterans talking to Afghanistan and Iraq veterans. So there's this bridge between veterans of whatever age, whatever generation, whatever some people call them conflicts. They're wars, they're real bullets, and they're real bombs. So you'll see the same thing when you're out, even if you meet somebody that you recognize as a veteran at an event or anywhere. You can say hello, and you have that bridge for conversation already. So use that bridge to establish relationships and conversation, and just, again, we have a common bond and shared experiences that nobody else has. So we can use that, common bond and shared experiences for good things, and I think that's what we all do with the coffees. But I did borrow the idea, Anybody been to Richard's Coffee Shop in Mooresville? They're open every day. They're on Main Street. They have their own building. It's a coffee shop. They're open every day but Sunday. They also have a museum, a military museum, which is awesome. If you're ever in Mooresville, stop by. Free coffee on Thursdays. And on Saturday, they have pickers and grinners coming in just for a sit-down music festival almost. It's really fun to be at. A lot of talent. Again, a lot of conversation and relationships. That's what the world is about, relationships. And then a lady who is Thelma Lucky. She has a restaurant called Thelma's Down Home Cooking in Salisbury. She has a veterans coffee. She started it herself. She's a retired staff sergeant. She started this with her own money in her own place in Salisbury almost 2 years ago. And they have it every Tuesday morning from 9 o'clock until 11. Another great place just to stop in, which is what I did. I stopped in. I liked what I saw, and I liked what was going on. So I just wondered if anybody was doing it in the Triad, and they weren't. So I'm the kind of guy that says, well, let's give it a try. We did. We're now doing them in 9 different counties. We're doing 7 of them monthly and 2 quarterly. And we'll have anywhere from 30 in, say, Moxville, which is a little small place, to 120 or more. And we do them also in Welcome, which is another small place, but Richard Childress lets us use his event room to have them. And actually, our next one is this coming Wednesday morning, 8:30 to 10:30. If you'd like to take a road trip, Senator Burr is going to be there. Richard Childress is going to be there. We're partnering with Novant Health. They are going to have their outreach team there doing screenings, health screenings for our veteran attendees. So that's this coming Wednesday. On December the 7th, we're not having any coffees that we're doing in December except for one, and that's back at Richard Childress Racing on December 7th. We are inviting as many World War II veterans as we can get there, plus all of our other veterans. And we just want to celebrate what they did for not just us, not just our country, but the world. They saved the world. A lot of them were teenagers when they were out doing that. A lot of us were teenagers when we were out doing what we did too. So that's December the 7th. So mark that on your calendar. That's going to be worth a road trip. We're going to have not just coffee and donuts from our great friends at Krispy Kreme, but we're going to have a real breakfast. So we're getting sponsors and all that for that. We're going to have a speaker who's written a couple of books about World War II, and I can't remember the names of them right now, but if I will get the update information to you, Jeff, and he can get it out to everybody. But it's going to be a really good event. After the event, they're going to open the Richard Childress Racing Museum for our attendees to go through free. So just something extra and special. One thing about the coffees, we started getting, just showing up, some of them driving themselves, a lot of World War II veterans coming. So it was such a pleasure to just rub elbows with them. So we got to think, I work with Hospice and Palliative Care Center, and I've inherited our veterans outreach, but we started thinking, what else can we do for the World War II veterans, because we're losing them. So last October 25th, and this August 28th, we had 2 dinners for them called the Spirit of 45. In Greensboro on October 25th, we had about 100, a little over 100 World War II veterans in that room that night. In August 28th, in Concord, we had 140 World War II veterans with us that night. And I've been, as all of us have, we've been through our lives and lots of ups and downs and crazy things going on. Those 2 events were a couple of the highlights of my life, just being able to be with them and do something special for them. So those are the types of things that come from these events. And Jeff was there for both of them with UNC-TV and recorded them. So we'll see something coming up, I think, on UNC-TV shortly.
Kelly McCoy in the back of the room.
All right.
Kelly runs the North Carolina channel for us, and the Spirit of 45 event that we just had in Charlotte, it aired on the North Carolina channel, and we're getting ready to post it as well online. So we'll have that available online very soon.
Great.
So you can all see some of the highlights from that event as well, because it was amazing. So.
It was amazing. We had of the 140 plus, we had 5 lady World War II veterans. One of them was one of the very first lady Marines. And she was a live wire, too, I'm telling you. She was fun to be around. But lots of things happen because of the coffees. Lots of relationships are built between veterans and organizations and people who support veterans. So we want to thank you all. First of all, back to the lady veterans. How many lady veterans do we have? Would you all stand? You all raised your hand and took the oath just like we did. Sometime, I think maybe from what I hear, you don't feel, a lot of lady veterans don't feel like they're veterans. They are. And we want to reach out to you all to keep coming to the coffees and to bring other lady veterans and veterans with you. So thank you all for your service too. So I want to turn it back over to Jeff. Thank you for coming. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to talk. And let's keep the coffees going, because they're just a friendly, comfortable place to visit and, again, establish relationships and talk and kind of see what the next step is. So, Jeff.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Don. And we're going to, Don handed me this earlier. This is a picture from this event in Charlotte. These are all the World War II survivors that were in Charlotte at the dinner. And it'll be posted on our website as well, on the Facebook page, as well as on our UNC TV site, so you can enjoy that photo with all that history, as well as we'll have information to link to any of the future events that Don might have for the Spirit of 45 events that are happening. Again, we appreciate everyone being here. The keynote speaker is important now. We want to turn over to the newest, the first Secretary of the Military and Veterans Affairs Department, retired Major General Cornell Wilson, Jr., and he is a Marine. As you'll understand, he's a very straightforward talking gentleman I've been enjoying speaking to and meeting, and really appreciate all he's doing and what the Department of Military and Veterans Affairs is doing for all of you now. So I'd like to welcome General Wilson.
Thank you, Jeff, for that kind introduction, and also, Don, thank you for your vision and for making this happen across the state. It really means a lot to the veterans that do this. And talking about the Marine veteran that was at the World War II event, she's a pistol, 102 years old, and she got out of the car, and then the Patriot Guard standing at the lobby of the hotel, and they wanted to help the folks get in. They needed help for it. So they came and said, "Do you need a wheelchair?" She says, "Do I look like I need a stinking wheelchair?" "No, I don't. In fact, I'll push you in." So he sat in the chair and she pushed him inside the hotel. And I got a picture of that too. But just as feisty as she can be, and certainly wanted to be in the Marine Corps and enjoyed her tour there in 43. Wanted to fly, took flight lessons, but couldn't fly in the Marine Corps. But she did serve her time in the Marine Corps and just enjoyed her time. And it was a pleasure to meet her. She's still strong mentally and physically, and I'm just amazed at what she's doing in life. But thank you for being here this morning. I'm humbled to be with you in your presence. And this is a copy of The Voice show. So that young man that sang the national anthem, let's give him a round of applause. And also the great color guard for their great work. How many World War II veterans in the house today? Any? Got one. All right, sir. Thank you. Any? How about Korean vets? Any Korean vets in the house? Again. Does the temperature remind you of the frozen chosen a little bit? The temperature in here is kind of like the frozen chosen in Korea. Any Vietnam veterans in the house? All right. Thank you. I know it's long overdue, and I tell you, it's really important to be recognized by Vietnam veterans for the poor treatment they got coming back from Vietnam. And Governor McCrory often talks about his cousin who was a Marine, got sent to Vietnam after spending 180 days on kitchen patrol duty. And that's unusual for a Marine, but he went to the general's office, knocked on the door and said, "General, I didn't come here to be in the kitchen patrol." He said, "Fine." Went to Vietnam the very next day. So spent a tour there, came back, and was treated poorly, as we all know how Vietnam veterans are treated. So I want to make sure you recognize that. The governor has said we want to make sure we treat our veterans with dignity and respect, no matter where they come from, what war they fought in, but we do the right thing. OIF and OEF veterans in the house today. One back over here. And Persian Gulf veterans. All right, got a few here. We're having a Persian Gulf display at the State Fair this coming month to recognize our Persian Gulf veterans as a result of the Kuwaiti government's largesse, and also our governor is working with that as well. As I said, I spent a few years in the Marine Corps. Had a chance to travel around the world and do quite a few things that I really appreciate the Marine Corps has done for me. And people often ask me, why was I joining the Marine Corps? I said, well, I read comic books in middle school, and I liked comic books, and saw these guys in the Marine Corps, and they were pretty tough guys. And I said, I want to be a Marine. I didn't know any Marines, but they weren't recruiting any Marines at that time, and so I never knew how to become a Marine. And so getting to college at University of South Carolina, at orientation day, they said, you can be a Marine by joining Navy ROTC. And I'm thinking, all right, let's hope they win today. But I'm thinking Navy and Marine Corps, how does that work? I didn't know what the difference was. And so I found out what the difference was. And Navy has the ship sailing around the world, and Marines will be aboard ship to do the landing force. And so I said, I'm in. So I went to Navy ROTC unit the next day, signed up, and got into the ROTC program. And fortunately, was able to graduate with my commission. Went to celebrate that night at dinner with my family. They were so happy I graduated, oh Lordy, and glad I could make it into the Marine Corps. So sitting around having a dinner, wonderful time, celebrating just the good fortune I had in my life. And right next was a table of Air Force, Army, and Navy, talking about who served this country the best. And they got into a discussion, good argument, and then it got to a fist fight right in the restaurant. And I'm thinking, what's going on here? And my family was kind of like, what's happening? So they kept fighting, and finally all three were dead right there in the restaurant. And I'm thinking, wow. And the chaplain was a good friend of mine. He came over and said, don't worry, Lieutenant, they're going right to heaven because they all served the country in uniform. I said, thank God, that's great. So they got to heaven, and they got to St. Peter, and he said, come on in, guys. You served the country well. You go right to heaven, no questions asked. And they got into heaven, and the argument still continued. And then they finally said, St. Peter, would you resolve this question for us? Ask God who's the best service to serve this great country. So he did. He texted God on his 100G God Network iPhone, and God came back said, all of you served the country very well in uniform. There's no one better than the other one. And it was signed, God, USMC, retired. That's my one joke, guys. I don't have any more, so I hope you laugh at it. I want to talk just a little bit this morning about my department, what we're doing, and also talking about the military bases in the state, and talk about veterans' challenges and what we're doing as a state to help our veterans out. As the governor has told me, it is important to recognize our veterans. We want to be the most military-friendly and veteran-friendly state in the nation, and so working toward that very hard. When I came aboard a few years ago as military advisor for the governor, we had a lot of disjointed things happening with the military and our veterans. And so he saw the need to create a new department of Military and Veterans Affairs. And so last October, we stood the department up here in Raleigh on Salisbury Street. The General Assembly passed legislation, and I now have the military responsibility as also the Veterans Affairs responsibility. And so it's a good opportunity to kind of combine all those things affecting the military in one department. And I'm very proud of that. I have some of my staff members here. My Assistant Military Secretary, Joe Kelly. He's here today, been on board a few months. And Jeff Smith is the guy behind the scenes bringing all the resource guides and everything else. And he's a hard worker, Marine as well, but won't hold that against him. So. But the reason we created this department, one of the reasons is that the economic impact to this state of our military, our veterans, and contracting for federal jobs is about $66 billion. When you look at that, that is a second only to agriculture in our state. And so we needed somebody to kind of focus on those efforts, make sure that we're doing the right thing for the right reasons, keep our economy strong in the state, and serve our service members and women very well and their families. So that makes us the 4th largest military presence in the country. We have a number of different bases here, as you all know. Seymour Johnson Air Force Base, Fort Bragg with Global Response Force, Camp Lejeune with those hard-charging Marines, New River Air Station with the Ospreys, and then Cherry Point Air Station with the F-35 strike coming in here in the future, and also the depot repair facility for the Joint Strike Fighter at FRC East. And then Elizabeth City Coast Guard Station up in Elizabeth City, where Joe retired from. At the largest ammunition depot in the country right here in North Carolina, down at Southport, the Sunny Point Marine Terminal. And so that's a big responsibility to make sure that we keep those installations running properly with our support from the state side and working with the federal legislation to make sure they have what they need to ensure those bases stay strong and viable. And we have 100 National Guard and Reserve facilities around the state. And we also have a number of training areas, such as the Dare Bombing Range down on the coast. We have the outlying landing fields along the coast as well, a lot of training areas and training space over those areas for our aircraft to fly and conduct their training. So the impact, I guess, is second on agriculture, and the government wants to make sure that we do the right things for our bases and keep them going strong. We have about the 8th largest veteran population in the country, over almost 800,000 veterans in this state that live, work, and play in this state, and want to make sure that when they come off active duty, they stay in the state. They're a good tool for luring companies here, and they have a skill base that's very important that we want to need in the state to help our industry stay strong, and also they're good citizens. When you look at our military side, I'll talk about that first. We have a number of bases here that need assistance to make sure we can do the right thing for them. And we're looking at the opportunity to have Seymour Johnson with the new KC-46A tanker coming on board. That is the preferred base for the tanker. It's not even being built yet. It's still in production. We expect to get that base, that tanker here, replace the KC-135s in about 2019. So a real win for this base to get that, for the state to get that tanker here on the base. They're doing the environmental impact study now, which should be done, I think, later on this month, and we hope to get the results back that they will say it's all confirmed for getting that tanker on the base here in North Carolina. And that will strengthen that base for having a new tanker there, a new capability there, and look forward to it staying strong in the near future. We have the F-35 Joint Strike Fighter. If you've seen that aircraft on TV, it is an awesome machine. We're going to bring the simulator here sometime next year, probably about January or February timeframe in Raleigh for the General Assembly. And it is an awesome, awesome machine. We're going to have about 90 aircraft placed at Cherry Point. They'll start about 2022. And we'll also have the repair facility there for those aircraft as well. Right now, we're working with our federal legislators folks. Austin's here, raise your hand. And then we have Gene over there, both for Senator Tillis and Burr, and trying to make sure that we help them make sure that we can get those facilities here on the base. The lift fan facility is something that's unique. With the F-35, for the Marine Corps, the F-35 launches like vertically and flies like a jet, and there's requirements to repair the jet that are beyond what other bases can do. So the lift fan facility itself is one that we're trying to get here pretty soon to get established at the depot to repair those aircraft. That will add more jobs to the Cherry Point area and also make a center of excellence for repairing the F-35 vertical lift aircraft. We already do the Ospreys there. We already repair some of the repairs on the F-35, and this will help strengthen that hand to keep that base strong and add more jobs to that area. So we hope to get that in the fiscal year 18 budget if things go well. And the governor has already asked to be able to support that with either state, private, or local dollars to help get that thing on board. So looking forward to having that come onto the arsenal. We also have the C-17s, strategic lift capability. They're going to be replacing the C-130s at Charlotte Douglas Airport. That's a National Guard, Air National Guard asset, and the C-130s there now usually go and support firefighting on the West Coast because they have that capability. They have the MASH unit on board. So this will replace those aircraft. Now it'll be a strategic asset for the whole world, flying out of Charlotte to carry our troops to wherever they need to go in the world. And hopefully work with them to train folks at Fort Bragg as well. So we got some good things working with our bases. Very proud of the opportunity to work with our federal legislation, our local folks, and our state folks to make sure that we can get these things on track and support our installations. for our veterans. I don't know if you know Larry Opentano. He was a former Veterans Affairs person. He went on to NC Syracuse University. He is now working with them to bring in capability that's going to help our veterans be able to navigate things a little easier, and not only our veterans, but also our service members. NC Serves is something that started off in Charlotte with Charlotte Bridge Home, and it allows us to be able to call into one number, and they can refer you to different nonprofits, state organizations, or whatever is required for the veteran to be able to get service that they need. It's very important that we have this capability, because as you're a veteran, you come out and you think, I got these numbers to call, those websites to go to, what do I do? Who's first? Who's on second base? And so having this kind of capability across the state is going to help our veterans be able to call in and say, I just want to call one number and get referred for if I need help for my mortgage, if I need educational opportunities, if I need somebody to help my resume, I need somebody to help me with my benefits. Call that number, look on the website, and be able to get referred to the right resource. We want to make sure we screen those nonprofits and organizations, make sure they are providing that capability with that service member can use. We rolled it out in Charlotte Bridge Home, and it's been aboard about a year now. We're also adding the Fayetteville, Raleigh area. That's going to open up, I think, next week. And then we have the capability being rolled out to Winston-Salem and also Jacksonville in Jacksonville, North Carolina by the end of the year. So great capability rolling forward, and I think it'll be really helpful for our veterans to be able to access that kind of capability. We also have the stuff the governor has done in looking at challenges facing our veterans. Some of the challenges we face, most of the veterans when they come off active duty, they just want a job. Want some place that they can go and work, take care of their families, and move on with their lives and service, they serve their country well. They also have challenges with some with PTSD, post-traumatic stress, as you all know, and others have challenges with mental health issues. So we want to make sure we get those that are in those areas served quite well, working with our Veteran Services Office in the counties and also our state Veteran Services officers, working with the VA to make sure they can get them taken care of. It's a challenge, but we want to try to find those and take care of them. And homelessness is another issue that we worked on. And what we've done in the state so far is looking at jobs. We created an entity last year with the governor's initiative to start NC for Me, North Carolina for Military Employment. And what this does is that the transition for veterans or for military men coming off of active duty and women, and the transition piece at the basis is pretty good. But getting that employer to hire you is another story. So how do we do that? Well, we have a young lady that joined us from Virginia. She was the HR person for Burger King, and her boss said, hire veterans. And she said, sure, boss, no problem. Never hired a one. So she went to work with some ESGR folks, Employee Support for Guard and Reserve, met a few veterans and said, hey, these are pretty good people. I like them. They're all right. And then she became an evangelist for that and transferred down to Jacksonville and has talked to us about being part of this NC4Me piece, stood that up. And she goes around with other members of our team talking to CEOs, to C-level folks, HR managers about the value of veterans. When you look at what employees want in their employees, you look at about 9 different things. They want loyalty, they want on time, they want results. They want somebody that's going to be to work on time and make sure they're drug-free. And so when you look at that list of things they want, employees want for the employees, veterans fit about 9 of those things. The only thing they may be missing is a little skill set here in a certain area, but they can get trained at the community colleges or by the company themselves to get that skill set improved. So when you look at veterans, they improve not only it's the right thing to do, but they improve the bottom line of your company. It's really important that companies take a look at veterans because they can help your company become stronger financially and do the job they should be doing. So she's going around with our team. We have employee summits around the state and ask companies to pledge hiring veterans. And they do that. So we had about 1,000 interviews for veterans this past year and hired 60% of them. 600 and some veterans got jobs this past year. So a real turnaround in our veterans employment. Our state veterans employment went from 6.2% to 3.1%. Result of those efforts and also the communities around you looking at veterans, hiring veterans because they are good employees. So it really makes a difference when you get the word out about what employers need and making sure they understand what veterans bring to the table. Some of the things they also did was in-state tuition. If you're a military man, woman getting off active duty in this state, before you could pay in-state tuition, you had to pay out-of-state tuition for a year. And now with in-state tuition, you get off active duty, You go right to our UNC school systems or community college and pay in-state tuition. Saves you money from having to pay for college tuition, take care of your families, and it's really a burden on you to have to do the out-of-state tuition. So that really helps them get their degrees, their associate degrees, whatever, a lot faster and with less impact to their pocketbook. If you can drive a truck in Afghanistan or Iraq, do you think you can drive on the North Carolina roads? Yeah, you probably can. The governor talks about it quite a bit, about being able to take credit, military experience, and use that for those licensing and certification jobs that are in the state. So with the truck driver, rather than taking all those long hours of driving on the road, you've been driving for the military now, you've been trained to do that, you drove in combat, so coming back here, why not go ahead and get your license through a shorter process, and get on the road a lot quicker, get to work a lot quicker. It's been very important to bring that on board. And law enforcement is very similar. If you were a sheriff or a law enforcement officer in another state, Georgia or Virginia, you come here, you had to take 584 hours of training to become a law enforcement officer. So it doesn't make sense if you've been a law enforcement officer in the military, you've been trained at Fort Leonard Wood and other places, you've served in combat as a military police, so why not reduce that training to where it's required only for 96 hours of legal training, get your badge and your gun and go to work right away. And we started that was passed last year, about our first person hired in Jacksonville, a Marine, about a year ago. And it really helps our veterans that want to be law enforcement officers get into the workforce a lot faster. Using that kind of military experience in college credit and also your experience in licensing and certifications, that gets you in the workforce faster, makes this state a lot better, more attractive for our veterans to come and stay here. For homeless veterans, we know that's a challenge. We've had a number of people getting involved in that. We have a Butner facility that's being demolished right now to be able to have a place for 120 veterans to come, homeless veterans, get treatment, also get job skills, and eventually get back in the workforce. Across the state, we started a boot camp, and Terry Alabaugh, one of my guys, has started working with that to be able to bring companies or people in from the cities, different communities, counties, cities, to be able to talk about how do you work to find ways to help our veterans. And this is kind of giving them a chance to do a white paper, work on things, all get energized, but going back to their communities and finding ways to help those veterans get off the street into something that can help them get jobs, get back into a productive life. And so homeless for our veterans has really reduced quite a bit. The chronic homeless, we certainly have to watch those pretty closely, but those that want to get help, want to get out of the homeless environment, we're finding ways to do that for them. And I would certainly say that homeless is almost eradicated for our veterans. It's not done, but it's still got a lot of work to be done, but we're still working on that very hard. So very proud of the effort to attack homelessness, find jobs for our veterans, and be able to help them with their veterans benefits. And our team is working very hard to stay every day to do what we can to help our veterans out. I think that if you get a chance to come to our governor's working groups, they're done once a month. They're right here in Raleigh. We have them varied around the state sometimes, but right here in Raleigh at the Joint Forces Training Center. And we bring all the agencies together from the state. We bring nonprofits there together, and we talk about what we can do to cross-deck the things that help our veterans get service that they need. If the DHHS is having challenges with the psychiatric stuff, we want to make sure we understand nonprofit issues, work with them on how to resolve those issues, get them back in shape, and keep our veterans working in a seamless way across our state government issues. So that's been a very helpful outlet for bringing on different themes. We'll have the VA coming in on January to talk about the new things happening in the VA. We have the traumatic brain injuries, healthcare. We have different variety of things to talk about, jobs, those kind of things. So each month, look on our website, there's a different theme set up for that governor's working group, and it helps you, if you have questions, you can call in and be able to resolve some issues and work through our processes there. So that's been very helpful to help people get on the same sheet of music. Veteran treatment courts. Harnett County, we started one about 2 years ago, and it's been well worth the money spent on veteran treatment courts. I met a young sergeant there at the first graduation. He was Air Force. He had a DWI, and he was out of the Air Force by that time. And they said either get this treatment or you got to go spend some time in jail. And he said, reluctantly, I'll take the treatment. And after a year, he came back and said, it was the best thing that happened to me because I was on a downward spiral. My family and I were having a tough time. I didn't realize it, but the treatment court helped me see that. And so the treatment court got him back on track, and he's now a very productive citizen back in Fayetteville and doing great work with his family. They're back together again, and just really proud of that whole episode. So we're trying to spread those across the state. I know we got one in Asheville. We have one in Kernersville, going to be stood up pretty soon, hopefully Mecklenburg County, and down on the coast as we move forward on these issues. But Veterans Treatment Courts really help a veteran who's got some issues, may not realize it with PTS, mental health, or whatever, and they can send him to treatment at a specialized facility, understand what the problem is, and get him back on track. And that's really going to help our veterans who have some issues make sure that they might have gotten up active duty. On the form they fill out about mental health and those kind of things, just said, I'm fine. And when they get off, they kind of say, I might have had some challenge there and not realize it. So it's really good to have that kind of program in place to help our veterans out. I think we have some time for questions, but in closing, I just want to say that I'm very proud and honored to be able to help our veterans, help our military in the state. It is a great state. We want to make sure this is the best state for veterans and our military, and look forward to working with all of you. I think President George Washington has been credited with this particular quote. I'm not sure if it's really his, but it sounds good, and I'll give it credit anyway. It says, the willingness with which our young people are likely to serve in any wars, no matter how justified, shall be directly proportional to how they perceive how the veterans are treated of earlier wars. If they don't treat you right, they're not going to fight for us. So we want to treat you right, and that is my job, that is my staff's job, so whatever you need, let us know. We'll manage to work with you to make sure we can get your issues resolved, if there are issues, or give us ideas how we can do better. We want to make sure we do the right thing for our veterans in this state. So thank you very much for the time listening to me drone on a little bit. I'm just passionate about veterans, passionate about the military, and I think it's a great opportunity to kind of work with these veteran coffees and network a little bit, get some ideas about things, how they can be better, and look forward to serving you in this great state. So thank you very much. Thank you, Don. Thank you, Jeff.
One thing we also want to make sure that we mention is the NC4 Vets is a great resource and information guide. Our other Jeff Smith that's in the back there has him at the table. Make sure you grab one of these. It's also available online, the information. So if you want to see Jeff afterwards, he stuck a few down here, so I'm going to have one for me a little later as well. Again, we appreciate everyone coming out today. We really want to make sure that you get talking. Talk to each other, talk to other veterans, and the other thing we're trying to do here with UNC TV, as well as throughout the nation, we're trying to gather stories of veterans. We're recording the history of the veterans. Today, in we have a small side studio in Studio C where Mike Burke is going to set up, I think. We have a booth ready to go, so if anyone wants to go ahead and do some recording today while you're here of your stories of service, that would be wonderful. We have questions already set up, so you can. Mike will guide you along through that. I'd love to have you do that as well. If not, we also are going to try to set up a way online for you to see what questions there are, so you can record your own and send them in to us, because we want to gather these stories for an archive of history. We want my kids' generation and younger to look back at the history and learn it firsthand, not from a book that maybe someone wasn't a veteran wrote. We want to hear it directly from you. So please take the time, record your history, and let people know about it. It is important to share that. I want to thank everyone who's been able to come out today. We thank Senator Tillis and Senator Burr's office for having representatives here as well, and there's some other members here. We appreciate that. I want to thank Krispy Kreme, who donated all the coffee and donuts to our event today, and they've said they're going to do the same for our future events. So look forward to some more of that great sugar high. We'll try to get the room not quite as cold for next time we have it as well. And please spread the word that we're trying to get these out to everyone. So if there's nothing else, we'd like to say talk to each other, and thank you so much for your service. Thank you, everyone.